Hey everybody, Dan here from the Global Run Club. Listen, a couple of weeks ago I was telling you about how to get the most out of your long run and why it mattered. And I was reminded that in that video, I said I was going to do a little update follow-up video on what your lactate threshold is. I'll do a video some other time on the specifics of what your lactate threshold is and how to calculate it. It's really interesting stuff. So that's what this video is. Thanks for the reminder, Internet. I want to tell you about what your lactate threshold is, why it matters, how you can actually increase your lactate threshold, and why you should care. So here on the Global Run Club, that's the topic today: how to get faster with science. So that moment when you're running and your legs start to burn, you know, back in the 90s when a person in spandex would tell you to feel the burn, that burn, well, that's your lactate threshold talking. Some people call it lactic acid. That's technically not true. If I were to put on my white lab coat, I could tell you all about it. But the truth is, your lactate threshold is that moment when things start to burn. Now, lactate is not the enemy. In fact, it's a fuel. Lactate is fine as long as your body is clearing that lactate as quickly as it's coming into your muscles. But the moment that you're not able to clear that lactate fast enough and it starts to build up in your muscles, you start to feel that burn, and then that's an indicator that you're about to slow down, whether you want to or not. That lactate threshold is really sort of your governor. That's when things are about to slow down, or other things are going to start to fall apart. And so when you start to feel that burn, you know you're going a little too hard for a little too long. We're going to link a really cool study from 2013 from the Journal of Physiology here in the description of the video, and it tells us that trained runners, really fit runners, could clear 34% more lactate than less trained runners. What that means is that you can go faster longer the more trained you are. Now, it's not just training, although that's important. We talk about sort of low heart rate or zone 1 training a lot of the time. That's a good way to start building up your lactate threshold, but it's not the only way. I'm going to give you a prescribed workout at the end of this video that'll actually increase your lactate threshold, which will enable you to run faster, longer, guaranteed. As your effort increases, your body starts pulling more energy from glycolysis. Basically, you're turning carbs into fuel. Now, your muscles and your liver can process that lactate into energy, and you can use it to keep on rolling. But that only happens to a point, and when you reach that point where you can no longer process that fuel as efficiently as it's being produced, well, boom, you blow up. You end up stopping running. I'll link another study in the description of this video that shows that lactate threshold is the single best predictor of athletic performance in endurance athletes. Better than VO2 max, better than weekly mileage, better than anything else you can name. Lactate threshold is truly the biggest indicator of success. And it's not just sort of correlation, it is causation. The harder you can run, the longer, the faster you will go on race day. So, how do you know what your lactate threshold is? Well, you can get a cool pal with a lab coat and a treadmill and a big face mask and a whole bunch of science sauce. That's one way to do it. But for practical reasons, for us mere mortals that don't have access to all of those things, what your lactate threshold is basically your 1 hour race pace. How fast can you run for 60 minutes of really hard effort? This is not conversational pace. This is the type of pace where you can get out a couple of words, but your heart's beating too quickly, your heart rate's too high for you to be able to actually chat to anybody. So if you can run at this pace for 60 minutes, well, that is your lactate threshold pace. It's really important to know what that pace is. Not as some sort of bragging right thing, but it helps determine race paces and predictions for one thing, but more importantly, we want to build workouts around what that pace is. Now, these bodies of ours are really remarkable. We can teach them to do all kinds of things. What I want you to do to teach your body to clear more lactate more quickly is I want you to do this threshold workout. And so it's a 15-minute warm-up and then 3 by 10 minutes at that lactate threshold pace, so your 1 hour race pace. Make sure you do the warm-up. It's super important, especially for this type of threshold work. And then in between those 10-minute paces, I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes at a nice, easy jog. Don't walk, but really try to get that heart rate down. So 3 by 10 minutes at threshold pace. Now, if you're brand new to running workouts, make it 2 by 8 minutes. It's okay. Don't worry, you can build up to that 3 by 10 minutes. This will actually teach your body to clear more lactate. It's a beautiful thing when you get to run faster for longer. You get to feel like a real superhero. Now for trail and ultra runners, I'm not suggesting that you go and do a super long sustained threshold pace workout. That's not going to be great for you and increases your chance of injury. What I do want you to do though, if you're out on the trail, to build in some of this threshold work in those long uphills that you've got to deal with. So if you're on a big climb, try to sustain that threshold effort all the way to the top. Look, it's a beautiful thing when you get better at running. One of the ways we measure that is on race day and see what our times are, but it's also really important to feel strong in your body as you move, and increasing your lactate threshold's a great way to feel like you're improving. You don't need a ton of science to do it. You don't even need to get too focused on the metrics. Just go by perceived effort. Is it hard? Could you do it for an hour? That's your threshold pace. Focus on that and get the workouts in. You will get faster. From Brad and Neil and I here at the Global Run Club, send us a note in the comments. We'll read everything. We'll reply, when we have something to say.